AITA for exposing my mother's secret relationship. I'm 22, the youngest in my family by a large margin. My siblings, Daniel, 36, Noah, 34, and Marcus, 31, were practically adults by the time I was in kindergarten. By the time I was in high school, they'd all moved out and started their own lives. I grew up feeling like an only child, alone in a house that felt both too quiet and too tense. My parents, Linda and Richard, were my entire world when I was young. My dad, Richard, is the kind of man who lives for his family but never makes a big show of it. He's steady, responsible, and always working to provide for us. He rarely raises his voice, but when he does, it's because he's deeply hurt or pushed too far. My mom, Linda, was the opposite. She was vibrant, charismatic, and the type of person everyone gravitates toward. She laughed easily and had a natural warmth about her. To me, she was perfect. Growing up, I idolized her. She was my safe place when I felt lost, and she always made me feel like I mattered. But when I was around 11, little things began to feel off. My dad often traveled for work back then, sometimes gone for several nights in a row. Late at night, when the house was quiet, I would hear my mom talking softly on the phone. Her voice was low and sweet, almost like she was whispering secrets. At first, I thought maybe she was talking to a close friend or even one of my older cousins. I didn't want to believe it could be anything else. I clung to the idea that our family was solid, that my mom was exactly who I thought she was. But as the years went by, those whispers became harder to ignore. By the time I was 15, my dad had started working even longer hours. Sometimes, he wouldn't come home at all, saying he was staying late at the office. I noticed how distant he seemed, how tired his eyes looked when he finally did come home. The warm, playful banter between my parents slowly disappeared, replaced with silence. When they did talk, it usually ended in arguments. My mom would accuse my dad of not caring about her, of prioritizing work over his family. My dad would defend himself quietly, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Then she would call one of my brothers, crying, telling them how cold dad was and how miserable she felt. My brothers always took her side because, from the outside, she seemed like the victim. I stayed silent. I didn't fully understand what was happening, but I knew it wasn't good. 2 months ago, everything came crashing down. I was using my mom's laptop to apply for a job. While I was typing, a Facebook Messenger notification popped up in the corner of the screen. My eyes barely skimmed it before my heart dropped. "I miss you so much, sweetheart. I can't stop thinking about last night." My hands froze over the keyboard. My first instinct was to close the window, pretend I hadn't seen it. But curiosity and dread took over. I clicked on it. The conversation was like a punch to the gut. There were weeks, maybe months, of messages between my mom and a man named Victor. They weren't just friendly. They were romantic, intimate. They had pet names for each other. They talked about sneaking around to meet in person. They joked about how Richard would never notice. And the worst part? Victor wasn't a stranger. He was a longtime family acquaintance, someone my grandparents used to know, someone who had been to our house for barbecues when I was little. My stomach twisted. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it made a loud snap. My mom, who was in the kitchen, didn't seem to notice. For days after that, I couldn't even look at her. She went about her day as if nothing was wrong, humming while she cooked, checking in on me like she always had. It felt surreal, like I was living in a nightmare where only I knew the truth. The next weekend, my dad came home early from the farm he now manages. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd noticed something off about her. But when he walked in, Mom greeted him with a warm smile, a hug, and a kiss, like she hadn't been messaging another man all week. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to tell Dad right then and there. But I froze. My throat closed up and the words wouldn't come out. Their arguments grew worse over the following weeks. My mom continued to twist every fight, making it seem like Dad was the problem. She'd storm into her room afterward and call one of my brothers, sobbing loudly enough that I could hear every word. "Richard just doesn't love me anymore," she'd say between dramatic sniffles. "He doesn't care about this family." And of course, my brothers, who hadn't lived at home in years, believed her. They'd call me afterward, scolding me for not being more supportive of Mom. I'd bite my tongue and tell them I was trying. The breaking point came last night. I was upstairs scrolling through my phone when I heard my mom's voice downstairs. She sounded giddy, playful. I crept to the banister and looked down. She was sitting in the living room, holding her tablet at just the right angle so I could see the video call screen. Victor's face was on it. My chest felt like it was going to explode. I wanted to run downstairs and rip the tablet from her hands. But before I could move, the front door opened. Dad walked in. He froze in the doorway. His face went pale. Mom didn't notice him at first. She laughed at something Victor said, twirling her hair like a teenager. Then she turned, her laughter cutting off when she saw Dad standing there. The room went dead silent. "Richard," she stammered, "this isn't what it looks like. Victor was just checking in. He's like a family friend, you know that." Dad didn't say a word. His jaw clenched. His hands trembled slightly at his sides. And then, without a word, he turned and walked back out the door. The slam echoed through the house like a gunshot. I stayed frozen at the top of the stairs, tears streaming down my face. Mom's head snapped up toward me. "You," she screamed. "You've been spying on me, aren't you? You've been trying to sabotage me. me, turning your father against me. Her fury was terrifying. I choked out, I didn't do anything. You did this. Her face twisted with rage. Don't you dare talk to me like that. You don't understand anything about marriage, about what it's like to feel unwanted and unloved. I couldn't take it. I ran to my room and slammed the door. She followed, pounding on it, yelling accusations through the wood. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. Eventually, she stopped and retreated to her own room. I didn't sleep at all. This morning, the house was eerily quiet. Mom acted like nothing had happened, humming softly as she made coffee. But her eyes were cold when she looked at me. Dad didn't come home last night. I've been staring at my phone all day, waiting for one of my brothers to call, dreading what Mom might have already told them. I feel completely trapped. If I tell my brothers what I know, they'll finally see the truth about Mom. But doing so might destroy our family completely. Divorce is seen as shameful where we live. It would devastate my dad, who has spent years sacrificing for this family. But if I stay silent, I'll keep watching my dad suffer while Mom plays the victim. The weight of it is crushing me. I don't know how much longer I can keep living like this, pretending everything is normal while the truth eats me alive. The week that followed felt like living in a storm that wouldn't end. The morning after Dad caught Mom video calling Victor, he didn't come home. His absence wasn't unusual when he stayed overnight at the farmhouse, but this time felt different. There was no text, no call, no explanation, just silence. By the second day, Mom was unraveling. She paced the house like a caged animal, muttering to herself, snapping at me over the smallest things. When I quietly asked her if she had spoken to Dad, she whipped around and screamed, "This is all your fault. You've been whispering in his ear, poisoning him against me." I was stunned. "Mom, I didn't say anything to him. You were the one caught on that call. You did this." Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I saw pure fear in her eyes. She turned away and locked herself in her room, slamming the door so hard that a picture frame fell off the hallway wall. On the third day, my phone buzzed with a call from Marcus, my closest brother. His voice was sharp and panicked. "What's going on over there?" Mom called me sobbing, saying Dad abandoned her. She said you've been turning against her and that she's the victim here. My stomach twisted. "Marcus, it's not like that. You need to come over. You need to see what's really happening." He showed up within an hour. When I told him everything about the messages, about Victor, about Dad walking in on the call, Marcus went pale. His hands shook as he gripped the back of a chair. "No," he whispered. "She wouldn't do that. Not Mom." "I wish I was lying," I said softly. Marcus stormed out of the house and drove straight to the farmhouse to confront Dad. Later that night, he texted me a single line. "It's worse than we thought." The next day, Dad finally sent a message to our family group chat. "I love you all. I need time to think. I'll be staying at the farmhouse for now. No decisions yet, but please take care of each other." It was simple, but reading it felt like my heart had been ripped out. Noah and Daniel both called me right after the message came through. They were confused and angry, demanding answers. For years, Mom had painted herself as the victim, and they had believed her completely. I told them everything, bracing myself for disbelief. There was a long silence. Then Daniel said, his voice shaking with rage, "She lied to us. For years, she made Dad look like the bad guy while she was." He couldn't even finish the sentence. Noah cursed under his breath. "I'm coming over tomorrow," he said. "This can't go on." When Noah arrived the following evening, things exploded. Mom was in the living room, sitting stiffly with red-rimmed eyes. The moment Noah walked in, he confronted her. "How could you do this to Dad? To all of us?" Mom leapt to her feet, her voice rising. "You don't understand. Your father hasn't cared about me for years. I was lonely. You needed to betray him?" Noah shouted. "You humiliated him, and you lied to all of us." Mom burst into tears, sinking to the floor. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Victor understood me in ways your father never did." Marcus, who had returned just as the argument started, yelled over her sobs. "This isn't about what you meant. This is about the fact that you tore this family apart and then blamed Dad." I stood frozen in the doorway, my heart pounding. It was like watching a volcano erupt. Later that night, my brothers and I gathered in the kitchen while Mom locked herself in her room again. "We have to support Dad," Daniel said firmly. "She's not going to stop twisting the story. If we don't stand together, she'll keep manipulating everyone." "But what about her?" I asked quietly. "She's still our mom." Marcus's voice softened, though his jaw was tight. "She's our mom, yes. But right now, Dad needs us more." 2 days later, Dad finally came home, but only to pack a bag. Mom tried to stop him, clinging to his arm, sobbing, begging him to stay. "Please, Richard, we can fix this. I'll end things with Victor, I promise." Dad's face was like stone. His voice was quiet, but there was a finality to it that made my chest ache. "I begged you for years to be honest with me. You chose lies instead. I'm done living like this." He pried her hands off his arm and walked out. Mom collapsed to the floor, wailing. I wanted to comfort her, but I couldn't move. That night, Victor called the house phone. I overheard Mom's side of the conversation from my room. Her voice was desperate, almost frantic. "No, don't call here again. It's over. It has to be over. They all know now." For the first time, I realized she wasn't just terrified of losing Dad. She was terrified of losing her image, her power in the family. By the end of the week, the truth had spread. My brothers were furious with Mom, but united with Dad. They began visiting the farmhouse regularly to help him set up a comfortable living space. Mom stayed home, rarely leaving her room except to make herself coffee or pace the halls late at night. She stopped calling my brothers, knowing they wouldn't side with her anymore. But her silence was somehow worse than her yelling. It felt heavy, like the whole house was suffocating under it. Yesterday, Dad sent another message to the group chat. I love you all. I don't know what the future holds, but we'll get through this together. No matter what happens between your mother and me, you kids are my priority. Reading that broke something in me. Tears blurred my vision. After everything he'd endured, he was still thinking of us first. Mom hasn't said a word to me since the night Dad left. When I pass her door, I sometimes hear her crying quietly. It's hard to reconcile the woman who raised me with the person who caused so much destruction. This morning, Marcus sat me down. You did the right thing by telling us, he said gently. We can't fix this overnight, but at least now we're dealing with the truth. I nodded, but my chest felt hollow. The truth hurts so much, I whispered. Marcus squeezed my hand. Yeah, but lies hurt even more. I don't know what comes next. Maybe my parents will separate forever. Maybe there's a tiny chance they'll find a way to heal.
First, let's acknowledge something. This is a brutal situation. You're 22, you didn't sign up to be the gatekeeper of family secrets, and yet here you are holding the emotional equivalent of a live grenade. The sheer imbalance of power here, your mom's manipulation, your dad's quiet suffering, and your siblings' misplaced loyalty already set the stage for you to feel trapped. That's not weakness on your part, that's a deliberate environment created by years of dishonesty. Now, the central question. Are you the AITA for exposing or acknowledging your mom's affair? In my opinion, no. And here's why. Responsibility belongs to the adult who created the mess. Your mom chose deceit. She didn't make a single mistake. She built an entire hidden narrative with Victor. She chose to let your dad suffer in silence while weaponizing your siblings' sympathy. You didn't manufacture that betrayal, you only uncovered it. Saying you're the AITA for that would be like blaming a smoke detector for the fire. You didn't go nuclear right away. You sat on the knowledge for days, weeks, until the situation forced its way into the open when your dad literally walked in on the video call. If you had burst into the living room, screaming accusations without evidence, that would have been reckless. Instead, you only spoke up when the truth had already detonated. That restraint matters. Family loyalty doesn't mean blind loyalty. Some people confuse unconditional love with unconditional enabling. You didn't betray your mom by being honest, you prevented her from rewriting reality. Supporting someone doesn't mean shielding them from the consequences of their actions. Otherwise, every con artist could claim, but you're supposed to have my back. That's not loyalty, that's being an accomplice. Your dad deserves truth. Imagine being Richard. Years of sacrifice, accused of coldness, shouldering blame that wasn't his, while the real betrayal happened behind his back. He wasn't just hurt by the affair itself, but by the narrative built against him. By letting the truth surface, you gave him dignity back. That's not cruelty, that's compassion. Now, let me flip this for fairness. Could someone argue you are the AITA? Sure, but only from a distorted lens. The argument might go, you exposed a secret that shattered the family's stability. You took sides instead of staying neutral. You escalated the drama rather than letting sleeping dogs lie. But here's why that reasoning is flawed. The stability wasn't stability, it was a rotting house of cards. Neutrality wasn't neutrality, it was silent complicity. And letting dogs lie? Well, this dog was already tearing the furniture apart. Pretending otherwise wasn't peacekeeping, it was willful blindness. My personal suggestion going forward, you need to set boundaries. Not polite, flimsy ones. Firm, concrete ones. That means when mom tries to blame you, you calmly respond, I will not take responsibility for choices I didn't make. Repeat it like a mantra. Stay close with your brothers. Right now, unity matters. Divided siblings are fertile ground for manipulation. The fact that Marcus validated you was huge. Let that continue. And with dad, support him, but don't let his burden become yours. You're not his therapist. You can be his child who stands by him, but you cannot fix decades of hurt. Encourage him to lean on outside resources, counseling, friends, even legal advice. And finally, here's my lighthearted take, because if we don't laugh a little, we drown. Your mom picked Victor as her romantic partner. Victor! That name screams guy who tries to sell you essential oils at a barbecue. If you're going to jeopardize a decades-long marriage, at least let it be with someone who doesn't sound like he owns 3 pairs of Crocs and brags about his fantasy football league. Verdict: you are not the AITA at all. In fact, you're the opposite. You're the one who dared to stop pretending the emperor had clothes. If anyone tries to paint you as the problem, remember this: you didn't destroy the family, you revealed the truth that was already doing the destroying. That takes guts, not guilt. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments.
AITA for refusing to give my sister money? I'm 31 years old, and for almost 9 years, I've been working relentlessly to build a stable, independent life. I've skipped vacations, turned down dinners out, and spent countless weekends working working overtime. 3 years ago, all that hard work paid off when I bought a small apartment. It's not glamorous or huge, but it's mine. A quiet space that represents every sacrifice I've made. For most of my life, I've been the dependable one in my family. My parents, Marion and Edward, are kind and loving, but they've always lived paycheck to paycheck. My older sister, Amelia, is 4 years older than me. She has a bold, adventurous personality and big dreams, but she's never been the most practical with money or planning. She married young to a man named Eric, and together they had 2 daughters. I've always tried to be supportive, especially when Amelia stumbled. In 2021, she came to me with a dream of opening a boutique clothing store. She didn't have the savings or credit to get a loan, so she asked me for help. I gave her a significant amount of money, more than I'd ever given anyone, because I wanted her to succeed. Unfortunately, the business struggled from the start. COVID restrictions hit just weeks after the grand opening, and Amelia's lack of experience managing inventory and finances made it worse. Within a year, the store closed. Amelia was devastated, and I was heartbroken for her. I never asked her to repay me. I let the money go because I love her, and I could see how deeply she was hurting. I thought that would be the end of it. But 2 months ago, Amelia came to me with a new idea. This time, she and Eric wanted to launch an online marketplace for imported home goods. She was animated and hopeful as she described their plans, telling me this business would be different, low overhead, wide reach, and, according to her, a guaranteed success. When she told me how much she needed, my stomach twisted. It was almost double what I had given her last time. I hesitated, and that's when she said something that shook me. You're single. You don't have kids. You don't have as many responsibilities as me. What's the point of your savings just sitting there? It felt like a slap in the face. My savings aren't just sitting there. They represent my dreams, traveling the world, maybe moving abroad again, and one day building a life with someone I love. They're also my safety net in case of illness, job loss, or unexpected emergencies. I told Amelia that I wasn't comfortable handing over that much money again unless she agreed to give me some equity in the business. I wasn't trying to be greedy. I just wanted to make sure I wouldn't be left with nothing if the venture failed like last time. Amelia's reaction was explosive. She crossed her arms, her face red with anger, and said, "Family doesn't ask for ownership. If you really loved me, you'd help me without conditions." I calmly explained that I did love her, but that I couldn't keep risking my future. She stormed out of my apartment without another word. The fallout has been brutal. My parents have been calling nonstop. They've always favored Amelia a little because she's the older sibling and has children. My father said to me on the phone last night, his voice full of disappointment, "We raised you to look out for each other. You've always been blessed with opportunities. Why won't you share with your sister when she needs you most?" My mother added quietly, "Amelia's girls need stability. Don't let them suffer because of pride." I tried to explain my side, but they didn't want to hear it. They see me as selfish, hoarding my money while Amelia's family struggles. Last weekend, Amelia came over again, this time with Eric. She sat on my couch, her hands clenched tightly, and said, "If you won't help me, at least be honest about why. You're punishing me for failing last time, aren't you?" I told her that wasn't true, that I simply couldn't give away more money without some kind of protection. Eric chimed in, saying, "We're family. We'll pay you back. You just need to trust us." I reminded them gently that they hadn't paid back the first loan. Amelia's face twisted, and she shouted, "You think you're better than me because you have a stable job and no kids weighing you down. You don't understand what it's like to lose everything." I felt tears sting my eyes. "I do understand," I said quietly. "I've been helping you for years. I've covered your rent, your medical bills, your kids' school fees. But every time I give, it's never enough. I can't keep pouring from an empty cup." Amelia stormed out again, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell from the wall. Eric followed her, glaring at me on his way out. Since then, my parents have doubled down on their pressure. They've sent long texts about family loyalty and guilt-tripped me about my niece's futures. Amelia, meanwhile, has stopped speaking to me entirely. She even unfriended me on social media. 2 nights ago, I went to a family dinner thinking maybe we could clear the air. Instead, it turned into a shouting match. Amelia barely looked at me, and my father accused me of turning my back on blood. My mother cried, holding Amelia's youngest daughter in her lap, while my nieces sat silently, clearly frightened by all the tension. I left early, shaking and humiliated. As I walked home, I kept replaying Amelia's words. "What's the point of your savings just sitting there?" Those words haunt me. To her, my hard-earned stability is just a resource she feels entitled to. To me, it's the result of nearly a decade of sacrifices no one else made with me. Now I'm at a breaking point. I feel torn between protecting my future and being the selfless sister everyone wants me to be. I've spent so long helping my family that I don't even know who I am outside of their needs. When I sit alone in my apartment, surrounded by the things I've worked for, I should feel proud. Instead, I feel crushing guilt. Every time I see a photo of Amelia's kids, my heart twists. I love them. I don't want to see them struggle. But deep down, I know this isn't really about the kids. It's about Amelia's refusal to accept responsibility for her choices, and my family's refusal to see that. I thought things couldn't get any worse. I was wrong. The day after I posted my story, Amelia completely blew up the family group chat. I woke up to 46 unread messages. At first, I panicked, thinking something terrible had happened to one of my nieces. But when I opened the chat, my stomach dropped. Amelia had sent a long, dramatic message to everyone, not just me, my parents, and Eric, but also our extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, even distant relatives we barely talk to. It read, "It's heartbreaking when the people you love most turn their backs on you. Some people would rather hoard money for their own selfish dreams than help family in need. My kids deserve better, but sadly, they have an aunt who doesn't care about them. I hope she enjoys her solo vacations while my daughters cry themselves to sleep wondering why auntie doesn't love them." My hands were shaking as I read it. It was like she had set fire to my reputation. Within minutes, the texts started rolling in. "Why are you doing this to your sister? She's struggling and you're just sitting on money? You've always been the spoiled one." Even my grandmother, who almost never texts, sent a message saying she was disappointed in me. I tried to defend myself, calmly explaining my side in the chat, but Amelia immediately twisted my words. She told everyone I had demanded full control of her new business and planned to take it away from her the second it became profitable. That was a complete lie. I had only asked for a small equity share, so I wouldn't be left completely exposed if things went south again. The more I tried to explain, the more Amelia painted me as a villain. At one point, she even typed, "She's always looked down on me. She thinks she's better because she has no kids and an easy life. Maybe she just wants me to fail so she can feel superior." I felt sick. That evening, I called Amelia privately, hoping to de-escalate things. The moment she answered, she was already screaming. "You've always judged me," she yelled. "You've never supported me." "Not really. You just throw money around so you can brag about being the responsible one." I tried to stay calm and said, "Amelia, that's not true. I've helped you so many times and you know it." Her voice cracked, but it wasn't with sadness. It was pure rage. "You're destroying this family, and for what? So you can sit alone in your empty apartment while the rest of us fall apart." Then she hung up on me before I could respond. The next blow came later that night. My mom called me, sobbing so hard she could barely speak. She begged me to just give Amelia the money to stop all the fighting. "Your father hasn't slept in days," she cried. "Your nieces are scared and confused. Amelia's health is suffering. Please, just do this for the family. You'll earn it back. You're young. Amelia doesn't have that kind of time to rebuild." I tried to explain, through my own tears, that this wasn't about money anymore. "Mom, I'm not a bank. I've been treated like one for years. I need to set boundaries or I'll lose myself completely." But she just didn't understand. She kept saying, "Your sister has kids. You don't. You'll be fine." It felt like my heart was being ripped apart. 2 days later, Eric, Amelia's husband, messaged me privately on WhatsApp. His tone was completely different. "I'm sorry for everything Amelia said," he wrote. "She's under a lot of pressure. I know this isn't fair to you, but please understand we're desperate. I don't want to see my children suffer." My heart broke reading his words. For a brief moment, I considered caving. I even drafted a message to my bank to check how quickly I could transfer the money. But then my cousin Rachel called me out of the blue. She sounded hesitant, but determined. "I think you need to know something," she said. "I overheard Amelia talking to one of Eric's friends at a barbecue last weekend. She was telling him that even if you said no, she had backup investors." Then she laughed and said, "Once this business takes off, I won't owe anyone anything, especially not my sister." My heart turned to ice. Amelia had been lying to me the entire time. She didn't just want help, she wanted total control and didn't care how it affected me. That was the moment I decided I was done. The next morning, I typed a message in the family group chat. My hands were trembling, but my words were calm and final. "I love you all very much, but I cannot give any more money. I've helped many times, and I need to focus on my own future now. This isn't about punishing anyone. It's about protecting myself. I hope you can understand, even if you disagree." I hit send and turned my phone off. When I turned it back on hours later, there was nothing but silence. Amelia didn't reply. My mother sent a single broken heart emoji and has not spoken to me since. My father hasn't called either. The only person who reached out was Rachel. She told me Amelia immediately started trash-talking me again, but she also mentioned that Amelia had found another investor through one of Eric's friends. Apparently, this new person agreed to fund the entire business with no strings attached. I felt a wave of relief until I logged onto Facebook that night. There it was, a photo of Amelia at the business launch event, smiling with her daughters. The caption read, "Some people tried to stop me, but love and faith always win. Here's to new beginnings." The comments were brutal. "So proud of you for overcoming all the hate. Some people are jealous of your success. Ignore them. True family always sticks together." Several relatives clearly meant those as digs at me. I cried harder than I had in years, not because of the money or the lies, but because I realized something painful. My relationship with Amelia might never heal. My parents might never look at me the same way again. It's been 3 weeks since then. I haven't seen Amelia, Eric, or my nieces. My parents barely respond to my texts. But here's the twist I didn't expect. Amelia's business is already struggling. Rachel told me quietly that the backup investor is demanding constant updates and threatening to pull funding if sales don't skyrocket soon. Amelia has been panicking, blaming everyone but herself. Part of me feels vindicated, like I dodged a disaster, but another part of me just feels empty. I went for a long walk last night, trying to clear my head. As I passed a playground, I saw 2 little girls laughing and playing. It made me think of my nieces. I miss them so much it physically hurts. I don't know if my family will ever forgive me. Maybe they won't. Maybe this rift will last forever. But for the first time in years, I feel a strange, quiet sense of peace.
You are not the Aita. Here's why. Your story is built on years of discipline, sacrifice, and resilience. You worked tirelessly, setting aside comforts and luxuries to secure a future that is yours alone. Every late night, every weekend lost to overtime, every choice to save instead of spend was an investment in stability. That foundation matters. It's your safety net, your security, and your freedom. None of that is selfish, it's responsible. Your sister, Amelia, sees your savings as an untapped resource rather than what it truly represents, your life's work. Her request wasn't framed as a partnership. It came with entitlement, guilt, and emotional manipulation. She positioned you as the gatekeeper of her success, when in truth, she should be accountable for her own planning and risks. That red flag alone is enough to justify your boundaries. The explosion that followed, the accusations, the guilt-tripping, the campaign against your character in the family chat revealed more about Amelia than about you. She wanted unquestioned support, not an equal arrangement. The lie she spread about you demanding control shows she was less interested in collaboration and more interested in using your resources without accountability. When people start rewriting the story to make themselves look like the victim, it's often because they know their demands were unreasonable. Now, let's weigh the accusations. Your parents claimed that refusing to give Amelia more money equals selfishness. But real selfishness is draining someone else's well because you don't want to dig your own. You've already supported her through failed ventures, rent, medical bills, school fees. That isn't selfishness, it's generosity. The line between generosity and self-destruction, though, is boundaries. You've finally drawn one, and the pushback you're getting proves how necessary it was. My suggestion, don't back down. Amelia's latest investor drama shows you exactly why. She needs to learn how to manage her ventures without leaning on you as her safety net. If you had caved, you'd not only be broke but also trapped in a cycle of just one more chance. Protecting yourself isn't abandoning family, it's refusing to enable destructive patterns. And now, a joke to lighten the weight. Giving Amelia another business loan would be like handing a toddler a gallon of paint after they've already redecorated your living room walls once. You might love the kid, but you're not about to let history repeat itself. Your future still belongs to you. You've done enough, and the silence you're facing now, painful as it is, may actually be the first step toward your family finally learning that your worth isn't measured by how much money you hand out. Final verdict, you are not the Aita. You are someone who stood up for yourself when it counted most. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for telling my friend her boyfriend might be cheating. Click here to watch it now.